Hi everyone, welcome to the video. You're either here because you searched for this specific topic and somehow you landed here, which by the way, thanks for clicking on the video if you did, or you just like my channel and you've been around and you just like my beautiful face. Either way, glad you're here. Today's video is going to be about my first experiences on a film or production set, what I learned and what I wish I knew, and I just want to kind of go over those experiences with you and maybe give you some tips and pointers if you are getting into that sphere of activity. The first thing that I want to make abundantly clear is that I've been on maybe you could say two like actual bigger production shoots, not huge like feature film, but actual professional shoots. I've learned a lot from those shoots. Obviously, I still have a lot more to learn, but if you haven't been on any sort of professional shoot like that, maybe you're just starting to PA, just starting to run those types of jobs, this video could be very helpful for you. Earlier this month, I was on a shoot for a TV production broadcast. Maybe it's a web series, I can't remember, but it's the Sun Valley Music Festival. You can actually check it out. I'll have it linked below because I'll be talking about it. I gotta give them credit somehow. But it was a 3-day shoot. Each day was about 12 to 13 hours a day. We had multiple cameras going. I was mainly the runner who runs the different cards to different places. I also manned the stationary camera. And of course, in setup and takedown, I was sort of a personal assistant. I did basically everything that needed to be done. I also shot a lot of BTS, and we'll kind of get to all of this. For those of you only interested in a couple topics, I'll leave a directory in the description. That being said, let's get right into it, huh? So before I get into these specific roles that I played in this shoot that I'm going to focus on, the Sun Valley Music Festival, I want to talk about things that are kind of an overarching need to know for every single role on a film set, especially in one of your first or second projects, being a PA or a runner or a BTS shooter. Number one, pretty much the most important, be on time. Now, there was something that I heard, it might have been in a YouTube video, or it might just be kind of a well-known film saying, is that on set, 30 minutes ahead of start time is on time. If it says the film shoot starts at 9, be there at 8:30. The worst comes to worst, you're sitting around for a couple minutes, but most likely, if people are on the ball, you're gonna be there around the same time as everybody else. I would even say if everybody starts showing up 30 minutes early, show up 45 minutes early next time. Be the first guy there, because you're really kind of at the bottom of the totem pole. So you want to be able to command as much respect and I guess appreciation as you possibly can. And what's the best way to do that? Hard work. Anyway, I got sidetracked. 30 minutes before shoot time is on time. On time with shoot time is late. 10 minutes late and you're fired. So please, be on time. The next thing is going to be difficult for most people, and I am terrible about this, but if your shoot is more than a day or two, you'll probably get the hang of it, at least I did, which is knowing people's names. There's nothing more personal to a person than their name, right? So if you take the time to just think and try to commit everybody's name to memory, when you're running a card to a cameraman and you say, hey blank, hey John, and he turns around and you give him the card, you're just gonna seem that much more approachable and professional than if you were said, hey dude, hey guy, and tapped him on the shoulder and he had to turn around and you had no idea who he was, he had no idea who you were. Just try to remember people's names, and this really comes in handy when you're running for coffee too. Speaking of running for coffee, you're definitely gonna want a Sharpie, and that's not just for running for coffee. You're gonna use a Sharpie to write on gaff tape if you have red or green tape on running cards, which I'll talk about in a minute. You're gonna want a Sharpie to write down people's drink orders or write down certain notes that maybe one of the directors wanted you to run out to one of the cameramen. Anything like that, you're gonna need a Sharpie for. And the last thing you wanna do is go running around trying to ask people if you can borrow their Sharpie to write down a note that you've probably already forgotten. So bring a Sharpie and bring a multi-tool. That's the second thing that everybody should have on a film set. I know that there's probably ones specifically designed for cameras. Personally, I used what I had handy, which is this pocket knife. I've had this for a while and I never really use it, but it definitely came in handy. You know why? Because it has a flathead screwdriver. This is super important because when people, let's get the focus, get the focus on me. When people are tightening things up with their camera, usually use a flathead. It's also incredibly beneficial to have a Phillips head because there's gonna be a lot of screws and there's gonna be a lot of stuff to to tighten, a lot of stuff to loosen. There's all sorts of stuff. If you're sitting there and a cameraman's trying to tighten a screw with his fingers because he didn't have his screwdriver, pull out your pocket knife, whip up the flathead, hand it to him. Be that guy. It's really those little things that make the difference and make people remember you and remember your effort on set. The next thing, which is gonna kind of pertain to those little things and what I was talking about before with being prepared, you gotta be fast. See, here's the thing with a film set. Everything is so expensive, everything is rented, people's time is incredibly valuable. The last thing that you want is to be the last guy ready for the shoot when the talent's ready, the sound guys are ready, the director's ready, and everything's all set, and you're the one lagging behind. And then people get agitated and people get angry with each other, and it just kind of becomes a mess. So be as quick as you possibly can with everything. Now let's get into the actual individual roles that I played on that Sun Valley Music Festival shoot. So the first job on a film set that I'm going to talk about is running. This is really simple but incredibly important. Your job as the runner consists mainly of taking cards that are full from the cameraman and bringing them to whoever is inputting the data into the storage system, and then taking a new card from that guy and bringing it back to the cameraman. This might sound super easy, and it is really easy, but is so important, because if you mess that up and you bring them the wrong card, a card that has actual clips on it that haven't been saved, haven't been imported, you screwed up big time. Because what's gonna happen is that cameraman's gonna take that card, throw it into the camera, format it, which deletes everything on the card, and start recording new. Which is why if you didn't have that stuff put onto a storage system before you formatted it, well, you'd be in big trouble. There's definitely simple ways to go about avoiding these mistakes, but you still have to be incredibly cautious while doing this job. One, you need red and green tape. Usually the cameraman will have it, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna take green tape, and green tape is gonna be on a card that is good to format, and the red tape is gonna be on a card that is not good to format. The second that the cameraman pulls the card that he was just using out of the camera, slap red tape on it, write down the roll, and then give him a card with green tape on it and say, it's good to format. That card with the green tape you will have already gotten from the card storage or wherever you're keeping your cards. You then take that card with the red tape on it, bring it back to whoever is working the data transfer section of your shoot. Give it to them, it'll have the roll written on it already, and he or she will start to import it into the system. It is just incredibly important that you do not pocket any of the cards. That's a super important one, because you don't want to forget about it. You don't want to put something in your pocket, somebody calls you over to do something else, maybe help set up a light, something like that. You forget that you have that card in your pocket. Next thing you know, you pull it out and you don't know where you got this card, you don't know what it's from. Just in general, if you have a card, it should be in your hand and you should be going to somebody to give that card to. The second tip is never ever hold two cards at once. It doesn't matter whether you have green tape, red tape. I mean, that'll make it a little bit more clear, but it'll just be confusing to, again, have a green card in one hand and a red card in the other hand. Maybe you get distracted and you put one in the other hand, help grab something, and now you don't know exactly which one. It all seems like, yeah, I'd never make that mistake, you know, you've got tape on it, but it's just extra precautions in case maybe you don't have tape on it, or you forget your tape, or nobody had tape, or I don't know. There's so much that can go wrong, and it's so important to have those cards precise that it's not worth it to carry around more than one card at once. That is working as a runner. The next role that you could fill is a PA, and this really, I mean, this has a whole range of different connotations. You could be a PA to a star actor when you see, you know, assistant to Mr. Pratt or whatever in the Avengers credits. There's just a ton of different types of PAs, but if you're talking smaller film set, which is probably what you're about to do, it's gonna be a more general PA, right? You're gonna be doing all sorts of stuff. Luckily for me, that didn't mean getting coffee. For you, it probably will. But whenever you're doing this type of role, it is important to never, ever get off your feet. Look, your job is just to be available for people. And so if you're sitting on one side of the set, one area of the set, and you've already helped everybody, and you've asked around, does anybody need anything? Go up to somebody, hey dude, do you need anything? They say no, everybody says no. Go to the next area. Don't just sit down and relax, pop up on your phone, because, well, you're not getting paid to do that. You're getting paid to help. And remember, the better you are at your job, the more people are going to be willing to contact you next time that they have a project. My second tip for PAs in general isn't really about the job itself. It's more about yourself in the job. Pay attention to what other people are doing, because you're not gonna wanna be a PA forever, right? You wanna pay attention to what the camera guys are doing, maybe what the editor's doing, maybe what the director's doing, maybe what the actors are doing. You might have a lot on your plate, but once that camera starts rolling, chances are you're not gonna be able to move or make any noise. So watch the cameraman, watch the director, study the actors. This is what you're on set for. You wanna learn, so don't get swept up in doing your job so diligently that you don't learn anything new. Because I'm sure being a PA on a film set for $7.50 an hour is not your dream goal or dream job. Yeah. Now let's talk about BTS shooting, which is the last real major type job that I did on this, especially this big shoot for the Sun Valley Music Festival. Basically, as a BTS shooter, you're working for the studio or the company that you're filming that project with. Now for me, this job just kind of got thrust upon me when they needed somebody to shoot BTS. I mean, I'm handy with a camera and everybody else was doing stuff, so they gave me a camera and I started shooting BTS for them. What's important about BTS, and something that took me a little bit to get with, is that there is so much going on. You need to be completely aware of everything so that you're getting the good shots when you can and getting almost everything that's going on. That might sound kind of convoluted and weird, but let me kind of explain this to you. Every day there's going to be a setup. They're gonna set either the setup or in my case it was instruments and lighting and all that. All that is gonna be going on. What you need to do as a BTS shooter is to get video of people putting up the lights or rolling out the instruments. Get video of the camera guy suiting up in his ready rig or holding his stabilizer. Anything like that, that's what you need to get. And you need to be aware that all of these shots, they need to be smooth, they need to be coordinated, they need to be well framed. You're not just boom, 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 taking everything in. Because of course, when they're putting together, whatever company's putting together the BTS, it's gotta look good. So get as much as you can well, but don't get in the way of people trying to do their jobs, because you're the BTS shooter. Unfortunately, you're at the bottom of the ladder there, probably just right above the PAs and the runners. If the lighting guy is putting up a light and you're in his way, you gotta get out of it immediately, because his job is way more important than yours. And that's just something to be aware of. If a cameraman is trying to set up his shot and the lighting guys are trying to set up the light, don't stand in front of the light don't completely block out the light, because if I was sitting here and somebody was shooting from over here, I'd totally be in the shadow and they can't set up their shot or their lighting. So you just need to be aware of the environment, be aware of your impact on other people's jobs. Just be considerate. So I hope that you have enjoyed this little quick YouTube video that I put together for you. If you did, and if this was helpful, leave a like for me. I appreciate it. And if you have any personal questions, maybe your first shoot is tomorrow and you've got the nerves and you're lying in bed at night and you can't sleep, so you decided to look up what to do, leave me a comment down below. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can, hopefully before your shoot. And those of you who have no interest in this whatsoever, but just decided to watch because of my beautiful face, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking with me. I know this video was it was a little bit off-brand, but I felt like it needed to be made. That being said, guys, thanks. I'll see you later.